At the bottom of the moving industry, you can spend 10 hours carrying someone else's furniture up 3 flights of stairs and make about $20 an hour. At the top, you may not carry anything at all. The trucks belong to you. The crews work for you. And while you're sitting in an office, multiple moves can be happening at the same time. But those two jobs are barely the same career. Between carrying your first box and owning a moving company are 7 completely different levels of responsibility, risk, and money. Level 1 is the helper. You don't need your own truck. You don't need customers. And depending on the job, you may arrive with almost no moving experience at all. Your job sounds simple. Take everything inside the house, protect it, carry it to the truck, and somehow make it all fit. And then you meet the staircase. Couches, dressers, mattresses, boxes marked books that somehow weigh more than the person who packed them. Everything has to move. In the United States today, mover pay averages around $20 an hour, although actual wages can vary dramatically by company, city, experience, overtime, and tips. Tips can make a good day noticeably better. Overtime can help too. But there's a problem. You're still selling your time and your back by the hour. The first skill you learn isn't strength, it's technique. How to lift without destroying your back. How to use a dolly. How to carry a dresser through a doorway that seems 2 inches too small. Then you learn that damaging a $5,000 table because you rushed can erase the value of everything you accomplished that day. Do this long enough and something changes. You're no longer the person asking where every box goes. New helpers start asking you. That's when you've reached level 2. You're not just another pair of hands anymore. You're becoming a professional mover. Level 2 is the professional mover. You still carry boxes and furniture, but now the difference is that you actually know what you're doing. You know which boxes go on the bottom. You know where the weight should sit in the truck. And you know that an empty space between 2 pieces of furniture can become a broken television after one hard turn. You learn how to wrap furniture before it ever leaves the house. Blankets, stretch wrap, corner protection. Because the easiest damage claim to deal with is the one that never happens. And eventually, you meet the objects that separate beginners from professionals. Safes, pianos, oversized sectionals, and furniture that was apparently built inside the room. Strength helps, but leverage, balance, communication, and experience usually matter more. The best mover in the crew isn't always the biggest one. Customers notice the difference too. A clean move with no damage, good communication, and everything delivered where it belongs can turn into something every mover appreciates. A good tip. For an experienced mover, hourly pay may move above the entry-level average, and tips or overtime can push a good day higher. But there's still a ceiling, because no matter how good you become at carrying furniture, there are only so many hours you can work, and only so much weight your body can move in one day. So if you want more responsibility and usually more earning potential, the next step isn't carrying something heavier, it's getting behind the wheel. Level 3 is the moving driver. Now, the most expensive thing you're responsible for isn't the couch, it's the truck and everything inside it. A bad lift might damage one piece of furniture. A bad decision behind the wheel can put the entire move at risk. You have to think about parking, low clearances, tight streets, loading zones, weather, traffic, and whether that giant truck can actually reach the customer's front door. And depending on the truck, the route, and the operation, commercial driving rules can become part of the job too. This is where moving starts becoming logistics. But you're still not running the move. For that, somebody has to manage the crew, the customer, the clock, and everything that goes wrong between the first box and the last one. That's level 4. And it's the first level where your most important tool isn't a dolly or a pair of gloves. It's the people around you. Level 4 is the crew leader. You're still on the truck. You're still moving furniture. But now when something goes wrong, everyone looks at you. Before the first box moves, you walk through the house with the customer. What stays? What goes? What's fragile? What absolutely cannot be damaged? Then you build the plan. 2 movers upstairs. One starts loading the truck. The heaviest pieces wait until everyone is ready. Because moving is a clock. Take too long and the customer gets frustrated. Rush too much and something gets broken. You're also the person talking to the customer when the couch doesn't fit, the elevator is unavailable, or the move suddenly has twice as many boxes as expected. A good crew leader can save hours. A bad one can turn a simple move into overtime, damaged furniture, an angry customer, and a terrible review. The pay usually improves with responsibility. But you're still being paid to run someone else's truck, serve someone else's customers, and build someone else's company. And eventually, a dangerous thought appears. If I can run the crew, drive the truck, handle the customer, and complete the move, why am I doing all of it for somebody else? Level 5 is the owner-operator. And this is where the entire game changes. For the first time, instead of showing up to somebody else's truck, you have to find one of your own. Buying the truck is only the beginning. Insurance, registration, equipment, fuel, maintenance, advertising. Suddenly, every expense that used to belong to your boss belongs to you. And the truck doesn't make money because you own it. It makes money when somebody actually books a move. So now you learn another job: marketing, reviews, phone calls, estimates, search results, referrals. The best mover in town can still go broke if nobody knows he exists. Then the phone rings. Your first customer isn't hiring the company you work for anymore. They're hiring you. On that first independent move, the customer might pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But that's revenue, not your paycheck. If the truck breaks tomorrow, you pay. If the customer cancels, you lose the job. If there's no work next Tuesday, nobody owes you an hourly wage. But when the schedule fills up, something incredible happens. One truck can produce more revenue than you ever made as the employee driving it. And that's when you discover the limitation of being an owner-operator. If there's only one truck, there can still only be one move happening at a time. So you do something that would have sounded insane back when you were carrying boxes for $20 an hour. You buy another truck. Level 6 is the moving company owner. The second truck changes everything, because now for the first time, your company can make money in 2 places at the same time. But 2 trucks also mean 2 crews. And suddenly, your biggest challenge isn't moving furniture anymore. It's finding people who can move it without destroying your reputation. Because the customer doesn't care which employee scratched the table. They hired your company. Your name is the one attached to the mistake. Then comes scheduling. Truck 1 needs 3 movers at 8. Truck 2 needs 4 at 9. Somebody calls in sick. Another job runs late. And somehow, tomorrow's schedule still has to work. Then payroll, insurance, fuel, repairs, advertising, claims. A moving company can bring in far more revenue than one mover ever could. But it can also burn money at a speed one mover never could. And an empty truck is especially painful. The payment doesn't stop, insurance doesn't stop, but revenue does. So the owner's job changes again. You don't need to become better at carrying couches. You need to become better at keeping trucks booked. Marketing becomes a machine. Search ads bring calls. Reviews build trust. Referrals bring customers back. And a recognizable truck driving through town becomes advertising you already paid for. Eventually, the phone rings too often for you to answer every call yourself. So you hire someone whose job isn't moving anything. Their job is making sure the movers have somewhere to go. Then comes the moment every owner-operator was working toward. One morning, 3 trucks leave the yard, and you're not inside any of them. For years, the only way you made money was by showing up and working. Now your company can generate revenue while you're sitting at a desk. But 3 trucks create a new problem. What happens when there are enough customers for a 4th, and then a 5th, and a 6th? At some point, you're no longer trying to create a job for yourself. You're building an organization. Level 7 is the moving empire. And this is where the word mover stops describing what you personally do. Now you have managers managing crew leaders, dispatchers managing schedules, salespeople booking jobs, mechanics keeping trucks moving. Your job is building the system that connects all of them. And growth doesn't have to stop with local moves. Long-distance jobs, interstate transportation, commercial moves, packing, and storage can turn one service into several different businesses. But interstate moving brings another level of responsibility. Federal rules, operating authority, insurance requirements and consumer protection obligations become part of the business. At this scale, a moving company can generate millions of dollars in annual revenue. But revenue is not profit. And it definitely isn't the owner's salary. More trucks can mean more revenue, but they also mean more payroll, more fuel, more insurance, more repairs, and more opportunities for something expensive to go wrong. The business becomes less about how much you can lift and more about one question. Can the company keep working when you're not there? Because if everything stops the moment the owner leaves, you didn't build a moving company. You built yourself a very complicated job. And that's the real final level. Not owning the biggest truck, not carrying the heaviest couch. Building something that no longer depends on your back to survive. 7 levels. At the first, you get paid to carry someone else's boxes. At the last, you've built the company, hired the crews, and created the system that moves them. The boxes never really changed. What changed was what you were responsible for. First your own hands, then a truck, then a crew, then a company, and eventually an entire organization.